and welcome to a brief seminar explaining why physical education is the foundation of athletic development. You may be a sports coach or a PE teacher or parent, and you're thinking, what's this got to do with me? Well, if you want your child or one of your athletes, sports players to reach their full potential, you must understand where the base comes from. And the base comes from physical education. So let's start with this premise. Children are not mini adults. They love to move. So we've got to give them opportunities to move. Sounds simple, but do they? Look at this young lady here expressing her joy when she reaches a puddle, just like Peppa Pig. How many times are your children allowed to explore these areas? Are they driven to school? Are they forced on a school bus? Are they picked up straight away after school? Are there no playgrounds? There's no play at recess? All these things you might think this might resemble you as your childhood, but is that's what's happening today? The reality is they're stuck inside a lot of the time looking out. Okay. This is where they don't want to be in this classroom. Okay. They want to be outside. They want to be moving. Okay. Unless we've conditioned them to not move. So always remember that if you're a teacher at primary school or parent, the children, they're designed to move. Okay. So what is PE? I'll use this acronym now because that stands for physical education. Well, it's like this old analogy about four blind men describing an elephant. Okay. If you're feeling the trunk, they've all each feeling something different. They've each got their own interpretation, yet none of them can see the big picture. So, however many viewers there are, you will all have your own perception of what PE is based on your own experiences or what outside reading you may have done or seen. And yet, and this doesn't matter so much as a parent or if you're an individual case, but when it's the people in charge making these decisions, then we've got a real concern. And if their only metric of what physical education is getting a celebrity in, a millionaire personal trainer in to advise them, or some celebrity or someone who's had good sporting success, and they're getting that's the only parameters. They're not understanding the bedrock of what physical education is. So there's three things we need to think about. PE should enhance the well-being of the child. That means physical, pretty much say obviously, clues in the title, physical, but mental and social as well. Okay. So if you're just putting your child round laps or telling them to run or walk a mile a day with no mental or social stimulus, that's not physical education. Problem here is we have this. Now, the UK government is just in consultation at the moment. They're going to remove even more funding from physical education in state schools and then replace it with an alliance of with local sports clubs. Okay, now I run a local sports clubs and I know nothing about this, so I don't know how this is going to work in the real world. Okay, because I'm in contact with three local schools and no one knows anything about it. So this quote comes from 1965, not 2025 or 2026, 1965. We've taken the sandlot from the many and substituted little league for the few. Okay. So you may put your son into this football league here and call it the Minia Junior Champion League or its equivalent over here in the UK. But really, they might want to be playing on their own in the sandlot, in the playground, okay, or playing with their friends, doing their own games. They don't want to be in an activity organized by adults, shouting from the sidelines, desperately trying to please their parents and gain their love and attention. Now, primary school teachers have a lot on their plates. They've got to teach ukulele 1 minute, French maybe another, RE, then science, and then PE, all in the same day. So it's quite hard for them to understand. I have sympathy. But a secondary school PE teacher who's done a PE course at university told me this. That's someone who is teaching gymnastics to your child. So if they're just relying on artificial intelligence to come up with a lesson plan, how much thought and reasoning and experience is going into that? Now, It's just going to be a race to the bottom. Okay. Rather than someone who knows what they're doing and is able to bring the most out of the child, it's going to bring down, bring down, bring down. Compare that to what Betty Logsdon said in about 1973. I'll read it so you don't read it. Physical education, to share meaningfully in the education of the learner, must provide experiences that improve his ability to move, that engage his thought processes, and that contribute positively to his developing value system, to the esteem in which he regards himself and others. Now, it's a male pronoun there that she's using, but it's a lady who's written it, so just that thing. Look at these boys here that I was coaching at gymnastics. They're working with each other, they're having fun, they're developing their physical, their mental, because everything, and obviously their social skills. It's the overall well-being that we're thinking about. Ask your child, do their physical education classes, especially the gymnastics, resemble this? So what do we want from PE? Overall, what's the outcome of PE at the end of a, I don't know, 2 or 3 year process or a 4 year, 5 year process? One, we want them to move skillfully, demonstrating versatile, effective, and efficient movement in situations requiring either planned or unplanned responses. They've got to think. They can either plan things themselves, or when something's adapted, how can they move? Can they respond adequately and carefully? They'll be aware of the meaning, significance, feeling, and joy of movement, both as a performer and as an observer. Have they got the joy of movement? Or is it the joy being beaten out of them, or not allowed? They're not allowed to express themselves because they're told to sit down all the time to watch other people do things, or sit in a queue because there's not enough space, time, or equipment for everybody, or the teacher doesn't know how to organize a class of 30 pupils because they haven't developed that skill set, because they haven't been shown. You're not going to learn teaching skills on ChatGPT. And third, the goal of the student, and this is the goal of the student, not PE teachers here, gain and apply the knowledge that governs human movement. So there's no point learning about it from a textbook or off a screen. They've got to be able to apply it. This is why it's called physical education rather than just education. All right. So how do we create this? Do we line them up like these Gurkhas at Sandhurst in the military at the military academy and drill them? Or do we give them commands like a dog instructor? Now, you might get short-term results in that. And in pre-war Britain or immediately post-war Britain, when a lot of we were either gearing up for World War II, or a lot of servicemen came out of World War II and went into teaching, physical education often looked like this. Okay, but as Rudolf Laban's influence came in the UK, we developed better physical educations. Okay, so we want. There's different ways of achieving the same result. So on the top here, this lady's manipulating this child uh, to get towards a forward roll. So there's one product in mind, there's one outcome here, and that's to try and teach them the forward roll. And then everyone's achieving the same task. Or we can focus on the process. So here we've got girls at our gymnastics class doing teddy bear rolls and different types of rolls. So they learn how to control their body. They're experiencing it. They make errors. Okay, so that it's a broad process here. We're not in a hurry to get to the forward roll. Broad process rather than narrow. Takes longer, but it's more involved for them. Now, you may think that you've got one way, and that's the way everyone needs to respond. Well, good luck with that. You can see here in this picture, these two boys I work with at England Golf and one of their selection days for the Southwest team. Their golf clubs are exactly the same height or length. Look at these two boys. All right. They're only 7 months apart in age. And look at that. So the golf club might be right for one of them. It can't be right for both of them. I've got a feeling it was right for neither of them. And yet someone sold it to them. Okay. So you can't just have one tool that fits everyone. How do we teach and assess? We can throw them into the competitive cauldron of sports and call it character building. Right. We've got an athletics event this week. You're selected because you were tall last year, so you were oldest. You seem to run the fastest last year in sports day. Right, you've got long arms. Can you throw? Right, yeah, right, you're down. Okay. Do we get a chance to practice, sir? No. Why do you need that? Well, I don't feel very confident. Oh, you'll be fine. It's character building. It's a true interaction the child had with the PE teacher. And yet I didn't see any of the PE teachers lining up to compete in front of thousands of pupils or hundreds of pupils where there was a risk of failure and embarrassment and injury, and then wondering why young pupils didn't want to participate in the future. So I wouldn't advise that. And the children learn through collaboration. You might want to think it's all about competition, and I'm not saying competitive sport is bad. Children do like to compete, but they learn through collaboration. They want to compete, but they compete internally, and they don't compete by putting other people down. They might want to like, right, we can do this ourselves. There's an inner competition. Okay, they don't need to be marked and assessed and done in the public eye. They don't need to be force fed like these poor geese. Okay, by an adult-led competitive structure. Okay, that's what all of the sports fixtures are. This adult-led competitive structure. Okay, and if you think that your school, you're barracking a school because you want an under 6 football match against the other school's under 6 football matches because that's what goes on in clubs, well, children don't respond well to team sports at that young age. Okay, they haven't got the cognitive skills. They can't think. They haven't got the social skills, interaction. They definitely haven't got the physical skills, and yet they're forced to. Just because people are doing it doesn't mean it's right. So, what should we focus on? Well, let's look at motor development with a movement focus. Movement, they need to move. They can't just sit down in these PE lessons. So, here's a little example. So, for example, locomotion on feet. That's one aspect of it. And I'm taking this from Rudolf Laban's work on movement. So, if we just look at the single leg in the lower body, they can go up and down. That's hopping. They can fall and catch. So the lead leg goes in front. Okay, so that's the beginning of a skipping. Okay, then if their swing leg goes up in front, it's assisting them in their movement forward for skipping, for hopping, sorry. And then when the swing leg leads, when they're really driving it up, that's an advanced hopping action. Okay, so sorry, this is all hopping, hence a hopscotch. But look at this. You might remember this, the hopscotch playground. How many of your schools have got this in their playground? Or give children chalk? Or have you given your child chalk so they can draw it on the tarmac outside? Okay. Are there too many cars in your neighbourhood that they can't just play out on the pavements and the streets nowadays? Right. So even just you think, like, hopping is hopping, but here there's 4 different sequences, okay? So you cannot put children into an advanced situation unless they can work through here. This is just hopping. We then apply the same to skipping and jumping and running. So if you look at this video replay, we've got skipping here, we've got running here, and then we've got hop, skip, jump. Okay, here we go. This is about 11 meters 58, this jump. Okay, so the first hop is about 4 meters, 3 meters 98. Hop, skip, jump. Okay, look at this. But it starts here. It doesn't start by saying you're competing. Okay, this young man has had a big history of doing this type of stuff. Then we've got locomotion on other parts, crawling, rolling, non-locomotion activities, bending and stretching, twisting and turning. We avoid contact with objects. So we learn to move in space, dodge, duck, dive. And we learn how to send objects away. So we can throw them, we can kick them, we can roll them. These are not sport specific, these are just general ideas about how to move, mastery of objects. Our goal is to create skillful, joyful movers who are able to adapt to the demands of life and sport. Here's some of our club athletes. I just put the reservoir dogs up there because it reminds me of them. Okay. Skillful, joyful movers. They're able to adapt to the demands of life and sport. If we give them the tools, then when they're put into these sports situations or they choose to go, they're much more able to cope with the technique, tactics, um, and physical demands of the sport. Doesn't matter how old you are. As teachers, to know, to understand, to believe, to be committed ourselves is not enough. That's just not enough. We must communicate with others and develop a common cause that focuses on improving physical education if we're going to help each child find greater meaning in movement. That's why I'm doing this. How can we find a common cause? Let's get together. Let's share ideas. Let's educate the primary schools. Let's educate parents. Let's involve sports coaches. They understand about movement rather than just trying to win on Saturday. Okay, so I've used badminton here as an example. So you've got the old coach at the front and this young lady here learning to move. Hopefully, that's prompted some thoughts for you. If you have any questions, then you can contact me here. My email address is here. You can comment on the video below. Our Instagram channel is Excelsior AT Club. We're based in Willand in Devon, and I'm happy to help educate you or your school teachers or your parents or your athletes at your sports club so we can create this movement mastery and the joy of movement so that they're physically, mentally, and socially better off in their health. Thanks for watching.